shopgear.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cyclone Jones, and I am with Pat G. The G stands for Gangster. And remember, the TTRP is sponsored by the Gear Network store through Amazon. If you visit shopgear.com, it's a little bit different. That's shop, GERE.com, and click on any of the banners. It will take you right to your account, and you can do all your Amazon shopping there.
When you shop Amazon and Amazon Prime, but Amazon kicks back a small percentage of your purchases back to us here at the Gear Network, so we can continue to bring you the great program that you've come to know and love, like the TTRP, Turnbuckle Talk Radio Podcast, Better Live Than Dead, the FTW Podcast, the JC Money Show, and Trust the Podcast from the Gear Network. So that's shopgear.com, shopgere.com for all your Amazon and Amazon Prime purchases from us here at the Gear Network.
From Wherever We Decide Studios, broadcasted live on iTunes, Spreaker, and worldwide, this is the Turnbuckle Talk Radio Podcast with your hosts, the Crimson Cyclone himself, Cyclone Jones, and of course, the producer, Pat G. The G stands for Gangsta. And now kick back and get ready for the eargasms.
Welcome to the year-end edition of the TTRP. This is Pat G. The G stands for Gangster. Unfortunately, I am not joined by my co-host, Cyclone Jones, as he's currently taking care of something special. We'll get into that in our next podcast as we start 2019. But I am joined by a very special guest, and I'm going to give this man his own introduction. He can introduce himself because he's that good. Take it away.
Cyclone Jones is not in the building tonight, but I'll tell you who is. The host of Films of Fury, the co-host of the Necrocasticon, and of course, your favorite barbed wire baseball bat-wielding podcast pro wrestler, Sergeant Fury, is filling in for Cyclone Jones. I hope tonight, Pat G, I can do him justice as a former guest of Turnbuckle Talk. And you and he have both been guests on my podcast, so this is really cool to be involved in the end of the year review for Turnbuckle Talk. Dude, I can't wait to get into 2018 because, man, was it a doozy for being a pro wrestling fan and a pro wrestler.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you've already covered one spot of what Cyclone Jones does, and that's getting himself over.
Well, I mean, someone has to. No one else does it for him. So, I mean, what can I say? It's an honor and a privilege to once again jump in for the hot tag for Cyclone Jones and to talk about something a little less serious this time. Last time I was on the podcast, it was more of a therapy session. But, you and I have talked both on your podcast this year as well as you joined me for the 25th anniversary of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on Films of Fury, which you all can listen to. It was
absolutely, and Cyclone's joining you on that same podcast for some DC talk.
Absolutely, and because of that, Cyclone Jones, myself, and the newly unretired Evan McLeod are working on some special stuff in 2019. Maybe some live stand-up podcasting in the Western New York area, but that's all a little hush-hush. Fun coming in 2018, or 2019, but God, 2018, Pat G.
Yes, 2018. Well, speaking of retirements, that's kind of where we're going to start off at this podcast, is we've kind of seen the quote-unquote unofficial retirement of Roman Reigns, so to speak, because Roman Reigns is currently dealing with another bout of leukemia and has left the wrestling business. And because of that, it kind of has put WWE in a flux in the very last month and a half, 2 months of 2018.
You're right. When the announcement was made that Roman Reigns came out on Monday Night Raw, shortly after getting the Universal Championship, the storyline with that has been going on for over a year and a half to 3 years almost. Can he beat the Beast Brock Lesnar? He finally gets to be the guy on the flagship show. And he opens up Monday Night Raw with announcing that he's leaving the ring due to leukemia, which he battled when he was in his early 20s, and now he's got to deal with that again. It was a sad situation. You hate to see a wrestler have to leave due to injury. This is the first time that I can think of since Stone Cold Steve Austin that a major guy has been gone for this length of time. I mean, we joke about Super Cena, the guy who can tear his pec completely off the bone.
And come back 4 months later.
Come back 4 months later. The dude has a broken neck in August and is wrestling in November, in the Boston Garden. It's insane to think about, hey, he's superhuman. But this is, without a doubt, one of the scariest things you could imagine a superstar has to go through, let alone just a person. I mean, this is bone marrow transplants. This is blood transfusions. This is, so much stuff rolled into this. And you're taking a guy who's at the peak of his career, potentially.
Yeah.
And he's gone for an indeterminate amount of time. This could be 1 year, 2 years. I mean, this could be 3 years, because you can imagine that this illness is bad on just the regular human body. Now take it onto an athlete whose entire system has to essentially be rewired. And I don't want to be the dark and negative, but that's a best case scenario. We have a worst case scenario we have to look at with this too. My hope is that, in a few years we see the video package pop up, Roman Reigns returning at the Royal Rumble. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year. Obviously not, but in a couple years, it would be awesome to see him come back. I like Roman Reigns. I've never disliked his in-ring style or his in-ring character. Some people might not like him. That's fine. That's pro wrestling. You're going to like certain guys. You're going to hate certain guys. Certain styles work for everyone. You might like Cocoa Krispies. I might like Honey Bunches of Oats with almonds. To break it down in cereal talk.
Yeah, totally.
But, I'm hoping the best for Roman Reigns at this point.
Oh, absolutely. Well, with Roman Reigns' announcement has kind of thrown a lot of things into flux because, of course, the Universal Championship had to be vacated, and Vacant was the Universal Champion again for his third reign, I believe. But but the thing is with that vacancy, they had the match for the title between Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman, Lesnar getting the title back. And a lot of people have come out and said, why would you put the title back on the guy that you just took it off of, especially when he's working 2, maybe 3 shows a year?
Because Brock Lesnar, as much as I hate to admit this, and there are people that know, I've never been a fan of Brock Lesnar dating back to 2002. I can remember I was in basic training when my girlfriend sent me a letter because she used to watch Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and pay-per-views and tell me what happened. And she was like, there's this new guy that Paul Heyman is with. He's huge. And then I looked at a picture of him. I was like, meh. I've never been into it. I liked his UFC career. I think it's an attraction. You need that attraction. He is special whenever he shows up. And to be completely honest, I look at it at the end game, and the end game is always WrestleMania. To me, much like when Stone Cold Steve Austin left in 1999, in November of 99, to get spinal fusion on his neck. This opens up a lot of opportunities for a lot of guys. Brock Lesnar's already established his legacy. Brock Lesnar is going to be remembered in the annals of UFC Hall of Fame and WWE Hall of Fame. There's no denying his presence, and his character is over as fuck. He comes in, he demolishes shit, he leaves for a few months. It keeps him special. This really opens up for guys both on the main roster that might already be there that really need to step up their showings. Mm-hmm. And this could also be big for guys on NXT to step up their game, and when they get the call, they can, run with it, because it's an indeterminate amount of time that Roman Reigns is gone. That leaves an open season. I mean, think about in 2000, you had Triple H had his best year. The Rock was killing it in 2000. Mankind or Cactus Jack had, the Royal Rumble match.
And then WrestleMania.
The Hell in a Cell match at No Way Out, then WrestleMania. He main evented. Yep. That might not have happened. Big Show got an opportunity. You had guys like Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho. All of these dudes benefited from Stone Cold Steve Austin being gone. When Stone Cold came back, he just got to work with more people in a different capacity.
Yep. Because there were more guys that were on that level than there was when he was there before he left.
Exactly. You had the big names, obviously Rock, Triple H, and Undertaker, but then you had your Benoits, your Angles, your Chris Jerichos, who came up and they fought for their spots. I would like to see some talent that's already on the roster do that as well. And there's a deep Monday night roster that I would like to see step up. And I don't want to say take the brass ring from the Roman Reigns position, but there's a lot of guys who could be the guy on that show, regardless of who's holding the title.
Oh, absolutely. And this is the thing, is with Roman Reigns gone, and with you mentioning it, it gives the guys a lot of chances to step up. And this is kind of the roll into the new setup for Monday Night Raw, where Vince McMahon and the McMahon family has taken control again. Because it now seems that they're not putting the responsibility on the fans. They're putting the responsibility on the wrestlers themselves to step up their game, to make them watchable, to make them being attractive to the people that are in the crowd and at home.
Absolutely, and we can look at, I can name off 4 guys right off the bat that I feel with this benefits the most. And the list is going to shock the shit out of you, because Elias is at the top of my list. You have a guy with untapped potential who could, in this next year and a half, get the Intercontinental Championship and make it relevant and make it huge. He could win the Universal Championship. And for fuck's sake, we watched earlier this year, we're talking about it being a huge year, we watched this guy in a 2-hour span. His EP went from number 15 on iTunes to number 2. I mean, that's fucking insane. And it was just word of mouth and people talking on social media. Hey, let's get this album fucking good. And it was a good album. It was a good fucking album. His character is a modern... I'm going to say this in an awesome way and in a nice way without it being insulting. He is the modern-day honky-tonk man with a more over character. Because
you know what? A lot of people have said that Elias is a mixture of Honky Tonk Man with Rick Rude and then a little touch of Rick Martel.
I would go with that, but he also has the ability to, where those 3 guys found it very difficult to be faces, so to speak.
Yeah.
He could on a dot, like all it took was a chair shot to Baron Corbin.
Yep.
Fuck, dude was over in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Dude was the good guy the next week on the show.
Well,
built him all year long.
Yeah, even when he was doing the heel act, he had the crowd because he'd have that. You'd have that moment of where he'd bust out the WWE stands for. The crowd would do the walk with Elias, and then all of a sudden he would be like in that 5-second span, he would have the crowd and then turn with some kind of line that would insult them, and they'd go back to booing him.
he reminds me of The Rock in late 98 or mid 98 and 99, where he could shit on your city, and it was so entertaining, you cheered him.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's nice to see him transition into this. I would like to see him step up his game. Finn Balor.
Yes.
There is no secret that I am a fan of Prince Devitt from New Japan.
Of course.
And from, obviously, when he jumped ship to NXT, I think there's about 1,000 fucking people that, wrestlers that I know that are like, Dan collects the action figure. I think his fucking character is awesome.
Yeah.
I think the Demon King presentation is off the charts. To me, he's a guy who, he's much like Bruce Lee, where his small stature does not mean he can't kick the shit out of you. And he's got the potential of having those amazing matches. He and AJ Styles last year at TLC, due to the illness that Bray Wyatt had.
Yes.
And ended up having match of the night, if not one of the best matches of the year. And it was all inadvertent. It was New Japan Wrestling on a pay-per-view that had 3 days notice. And I sat back and I was like, there's your fucking proof that this dude could be the guy.
No, absolutely.
And he had the Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania this year opened up the show, the main show, and it was fucking phenomenal. He and The Miz and Seth Rollins went out there and just tore the fucking house down. Two of the best matches on the card, if not the 2 out of the 3 best matches on the card, were right at the fucking beginning of the show.
Oh, I completely agree with that. And the thing with Finn Balor is a lot of people in 2018 is like, oh, they're not giving Finn Balor a chance. Da, 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 da. Well, for one, you got to remember, at the end of the day, Vince McMahon is still in charge. Vince McMahon has never been a guy where he saw a Finn Balor or a AJ Styles or even a Daniel Bryan being the star, being the guy of their company. That's starting to finally change because you have other people in power that's going, hey, Vince, this is the way wrestling's going. You're no longer getting these 6'7", 350-pound muscular guys anymore. Yeah, you still have them, but they're not as many as they were back in the 70s and 80s.
The dude is, 5'10", 199 pounds, with like maybe 0.05 body fat. And when he busts, I have been at SummerSlam last year. I have been in the presence of him at an NXT show, a small show at the Armory, and when he's the Demon King. Mm-hmm. There is not a person sitting down when that dude enters the arena. They are on their feet. They are connected to that character. Personally, I'd like to see the Demon King more than once a year. That's just me. Because to me, when I see Finn Balor merchandise, whether he's on backpacks or coolers or Funko Pops, I'm not seeing Prince Devitt in the leather jacket. I'm seeing the Demon King Finn Balor as an action figure and a wrestling
because that's the moneymaker right there.
And, I see big potential with him with an Intercontinental Championship run in 2019. I could see him as Universal Champion getting the run that he should have had he not gotten injured.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There's another big guy that we have to talk about, the elephant in the room, Drew McIntyre.
Yes.
Dude, Drew McIntyre to me my friend Sheena, who I made friends with at WrestleMania 26, she's from Scotland, shout out to Sheena, is a fucking phenomenally huge Drew McIntyre fan. Like, Drew McIntyre, when he came back to NXT, I looked at him and I was like, damn, he looks ready. And then his promo work over the last year, he sounds ready. To me, Monday Night Raw on New Year's Eve is he and Dolph Ziggler in a steel cage match.
Yes.
They're setting up for something big for Drew McIntyre this year. Is Braun Strowman going to be the guy to dethrone Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble? Who knows? Is Drew McIntyre the guy to go against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? I can't answer that for you. But he has got so many positives that I can't find the negative. I think the only negative that he would have right now is can he prove that he's not the guy that he was when he had his initial run? When we're talking 3MB, when we're talking the guy that...
that's the thing, he's not. He's not.
Absolutely not.
Because me and Cyclone have talked about this numerous times throughout this past year, is you've seen guys leave and go find themselves on the independent scene or in another company or whatever. And that's what Drew McIntyre did. He got let go. He left. He went to Impact. He went back to Scotland, UK. He went out on the independent scene. He found his character. He found himself.
And he got that muscle. Like, I know this is going to sound weird, but as a performer and as an adult man, joke. The fucking joke on that one. But when he was in his 20s, he had that lean...
He had the lean cut look, but he wasn't muscular.
He packed on some muscle mass that, he looks like if he hits you, you wouldn't wake up until 2 weeks later. Like, he looks like if you were to put him versus Brock Lesnar, that would be more believable to me than Brock Lesnar versus Baron Corbin. Because we've already seen Baron Corbin compared to Brock Lesnar in the ring.
Yep.
And it's like, he's tall, he's muscular, but Drew McIntyre looks like he would fight Brock Lesnar in a real fight. Like, he doesn't look like he would back down. And, who knows if that would happen in real life. But as far as me, Drew McIntyre has a chance to show himself and really step up his game. And there's one other dude that I feel it's either shit or get off the pot.
Okay.
I know this is going to come out of left field, and people are going to be like, what the fuck is Dan talking about? Dean Ambrose. I know he's been WWE champion. I know he's been Intercontinental champion, Tag Team champion, United States champion. He is Grand Slam champion. I get it. But, when he went away due to the injury and came back, it was kind of lackluster, like he was just in the corner of Seth, and now he's doing this character where he's coming out in the Bane from The Dark Knight Rises kind of coat, and he's shirtless now because he packed on a lot of muscle and during his rehabilitation time. I want to see Dean Ambrose be dangerous. I want to see the Dean Ambrose that, when he was on the Stone Cold podcast and all of a sudden people were like, Stone Cold shit on him, quote unquote shit on him during his podcast. Yeah. It's like, give us the character. Give us less of the character that you're trying to be this wild man in the desert, and give us the person that you really want to be.
Yeah. And give us the guy that he was on the independent scene.
Yes, give us Moxley.
Yep.
And more importantly than that, if Brock Lesnar is only showing up every once in a while, Monday Night Raw needs a good bad guy. Dolph Ziggler isn't the bad guy; he's the show-off. Elias is no longer a bad guy.
Nope.
We don't have Kevin Owens currently. He soon, on his Twitter soon. They're lax bad guys. Right now, you have the perfect 1-2 combo on Raw. You have Dean Ambrose with the Intercontinental Championship, and you have his wife on commentary playing cheerleader, and she kind of comes off, and if you listen, you watch the pay-per-view TLC last weekend or the weekend before, she was kind of being, not for lack of a better word, she was kind of being a bitch.
Yes, she was.
Michael Cole and Corey Graves defending her husband.
I think what it is for because up until the TLC pay-per-view, and even before, like, just after when Dean Ambrose broke the Shield, quote-unquote, like, they were asking her what's going on in his head, and she's like, I don't know what's going on in his head. She was kind of being timid about it, and, like, trying not to play that, like, trying not to cross that line of reality versus TV.
Yep.
But then when, I don't know who did it, But when they finally told her, you know what, you need to cross this line. You are his wife. You need to defend him. Because all these other wives that are married to said wrestlers, they defend them. You need to cross that line. The minute she was allowed to cross that line, it has worked. It has advanced her character on commentary.
And not just that, but it's like, one of the lines that got me was, I'm watching this match, which the fans could say was boring. Whatever. To me, it was entertaining. Was, imagine sitting at home and getting a staph infection because your surgery isn't healing well. Like, how would you feel, Corey? And Corey's like, I would take a bath. And he tried some smart ass thing, and she goes, yeah, well, he actually wrestles. And I'm like, oh fuck. Like,
yeah. It was. I'm not a something to bats or whatever. And I heard that line, and I'm like, oh shit.
Like, here you go. Like, to me, Dean Ambrose needs to step up his game. If I were magically penciling in WrestleMania for New York City, I would put Dean Ambrose versus the Demon King Finn Balor, because those two entrances alone would be magic.
Yes, if Dean Ambrose is allowed to be Jon Moxley from his CZW days or even his independent days, then him versus the Demon King, oh my god, that would blow the roof off the place.
Exactly, and I mean, to me, that would be worth my time watching, because I think that character-wise, the Demon King does better when he's got a Bray Wyatt or a Baron Corbin, or an AJ Styles. When he's got a character to play off of to unleash that demon, it works. But to me, it sucks that we've got this vacancy. I really do like Roman Reigns. I would have liked to have seen what could have happened, but those are four guys that I want to see step up their game. You might notice I didn't say Seth Rollins and I didn't say Braun Strowman. They don't need to step up their game.
They don't.
They are already there. Seth Rollins has had some phenomenal matches this year. Like I said, the first match of WrestleMania was the triple threat. He came out as the White Walker from Game of Thrones, and it's like, here's my money. There you go.
Yeah, hey, and then of course when he during SummerSlam, he had the Thanos gear.
Exactly, he had the Infinity Gauntlet on his
on the boot,
his kick pad, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, why does he have an Infinity Gauntlet? Stop. Okay, we're good.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean? Like, there we go, kid.
That explains that. Well, I completely agree with your list. I do. The four guys there. Someone else. Unfortunately, I'm going to look at on the SmackDown side of things. You kind of went Raw. I'm going to look at the SmackDown side of things. And, of course, on SmackDown, you have Daniel Bryan, you have AJ Styles. Right there in that. But with SmackDown, after AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, the field kind of is like a lot of mishmash, so to speak.
I think I can mishmash in a way that you're going to understand. Okay. It's a mixture of the best of Impact or the best of TNA in the late 2000 era. So we're talking AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Jeff Hardy. It's got some good NXT stuff. And I got to say Eric Young. I'm sorry, I can't forget Eric Young in that equation. It's got some good NXT stuff, so to speak. You know what I mean? I'd like to see Lars Sullivan land there. You got Sanity, you got some good stuff over there, it's got some your Randy Ortons and your Rey Mysterios, who are stalwart WWE
legends,
2000s guys. Yeah, and they've got a good tag team division.
They're slowly getting there. If they could stop rotating the same three teams, I'd be happy.
But I hate to say it, I think the thing that might be a hang-up for you is their women's division is the best thing on their show.
Oh, absolutely.
Other than AJ and Daniel Bryan.
Oh no, absolutely. I was gonna go there. That's why I said on the men's side, it's kind of a mishmash of things of guys that have made their name elsewhere. But then you also have the women's division, and I think this is where you're going to see with the announcement that Vince made this past Monday with the tag team championships for the women's division, I honestly think your first initial tag team women's champions are going to be from SmackDown Live.
Absolutely. Now, I would like to see this as a traveling title. I don't
between both shows. That I don't see them doing separate versions, because as quote unquote deep as the women's roster is for the two shows combined, it makes it better, especially if you do a tag team championship.
Absolutely. He just said women's tag team championship.
Yep.
He did not say Raw or SmackDown. He just said women's tag team championship, because let's face facts. You've got Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, who, my God, to think that they're the ones that stood out from Tough Enough a few years ago.
Yes.
Like, to think that they've grown. You have
the Iconics, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay.
Thank you. You have, of course, Sasha and Bayley.
Yep.
The Sasha and Bayley would be awesome to see. And, there's more women coming up through the ranks of NXT. I'm sure Naomi will land in there somewhere with a tag team partner. Maybe Natalya finds a tag team partner. Who knows where it will land? But I'm so goddamn happy that we're even talking about a women's tag team title.
Yep.
Because I wouldn't have predicted this 10 years ago.
Oh.
If you would have told me 10 years ago there's going to be a Raw women's title, a SmackDown women's title, oh, and by the way, a tag team women's title, I would have said, fuck off. Like,
hell, in 10 years ago, if you would have said there was going to be a women's Royal Rumble, a women's TLC, a women's Money in the Bank, a women's Elimination Chamber, I would have been like, maybe after Vince is dead, if he dies in 9 years.
Honestly, I don't want to be a dick. I would have said, okay, so Vince retired.
Yeah.
I never would have thought it. And thank God we saw it this year. Yeah, it's been building. It's been building.
Oh, absolutely.
It seems like last January was big in pro wrestling.
Yes.
Okay, last January was insanely huge because, we can get into some other wrestling companies after we get done talking about this, but it's like when they announced that they were doing an all-women's Royal Rumble, awesome. The fact that it went on last, awesomer. The fact that Ronda Rousey came out after Asuka, the undefeated Empress, won the first ever Royal Rumble, and it's just like, okay, I can't be any more done right now. It's like, where does this go from here?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, like, when they did that, I'm kind of like looking at, and at the time of the end of the Royal Rumble, you had Charlotte and Alexa Bliss as the champions. Yep. And I'm just going, okay, well, Asuka, I'm like, all right, where is this going to go? And I'm like, I feel like Asuka's going to go against Charlotte. That's the money match. So what are you going to do for the Raw side of things? And then they decided to up the ante and go, okay, women's Elimination Chamber match. And I'm just like, holy shit.
Not only a women's Elimination Chamber match, a goddamn good one.
Oh, yeah.
It had, and mind you, you had a lot on the road to WrestleMania last year. The women were stealing the show because
they were.
It was the Royal Rumble and Asuka, who I am a huge fan of Asuka, and her winning. And then moments later, Ronda Rousey comes out, and it's like, so they got Ronda. And then they announce it. Ronda's on a full-time contract. Ronda's going to be wrestling full-time.
Yep.
Now, was that Brock Lesnar full-time, or was that full-time? And she's doing the European tour. She's doing house shows. She's doing it all. She's wrestling on Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
We haven't seen Brock wrestle on network television since 2004.
Yep.
Okay?
Over a decade.
Over a decade, Brock Lesnar hasn't performed. Fact check me on that. I'm pretty goddamn sure.
I'm pretty positive. That was the last time he was on network TV.
Exactly, was when Eddie Guerrero was champion. So you look at it, and then you go, like you said, into the Elimination Chamber, and you had the Sasha Banks Bayley story kept getting accentuated.
You had the deterioration of the friendship between Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax,
which inevitably led to their match at WrestleMania.
Yep.
And then you had Stephanie McMahon, who is arguably, not arguably, she is the top heel female in the company whenever she shows up.
Yep,
okay,
she is.
She's Vince McMahon's daughter. Okay, her and Ronda, Kurt Angle, and Triple H. On paper, sounds awkward. Then you have it at WrestleMania, where you have the best match of the night is Charlotte versus Asuka.
Yep.
Hands down, fight me over it.
Oh, no, I completely agree with you. And the second, and what thing is on paper, you look at that Triple H Stephanie versus Ronda versus Kurt Angle, and you're going, okay, Angle can still go. Triple H can still go. Stephanie is Stephanie. Ronda's never wrestled in her life. She's coming from the world of MMA. You're going, okay, this may not end up well. And it literally was one of the best matches on the card.
One of the best matches of the year. Now, there are those who would argue, look who she was in the ring with. Of course it was going to be great. The moment she walked through that smoke in the Hot Rod Roddy Piper female cosplay outfit,
yep,
and she walked down to that ring, that was WWE's Ronda Rousey.
Yep.
Okay? She was a WWE superstar. She marched down there, she knew what she had to do, and she knew in New Orleans, had she not delivered, everyone
it would have been done.
Would have watched her fail. And she went toe-to-toe with Triple H. Stephanie was at the peak of her awesomeness, and Kurt Angle went out there. Okay, now I don't quote country songs very often, but there's this country song by Toby Keith. I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was.
Yep.
Kurt Angle was the motherfucking suplex machine out there. He was the wrestling machine for one more night.
Yep.
Forget that little Shield one-time only thing at TLC last year. He went out there. He was suplexing. He was ankle locking.
He was Kurt Angle. He was the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle.
He ankle locked Stephanie McMahon.
Yep.
No man touches women anymore. And what's even better, Triple H got in the ring against Ronda Rousey, and man, did he look great. He made her look like $1 million.
Yes, he did.
Had that been a one-off match, it would have been perfect. But Ronda kept getting better. And because Ronda kept getting better, you had everyone else stepping up their game.
Yep.
If you would have told me of the three NXT standouts being Enzo Amore, Big Cass, and Carmella, who was going to have the best run in WWE?
Oh, man.
It certainly wouldn't have been Carmella. But the Queen of Staten Island, the SmackDown after WrestleMania with the introduction of the Iconics came out and made a fucking moment. And Mella was money.
Yes, she was.
All the way up to SummerSlam. You couldn't deny that woman.
And you know what? Even after SummerSlam, when she dropped the title, she's been knocked down the card a little bit because of the Mixed Match Challenge. But the thing that she's doing with R-Truth, it's made R-Truth relevant again.
R-Truth, whenever R-Truth shows up, I laugh. Now R-Truth showed Dance Break. If you scream Dance Break at a WWE event, people dance.
Yep.
It's a niche that they danced with the McMahons in the ring.
They did.
At SmackDown One Bell. Boom. It was one of the moments of the night. It was one of the most replayed things. Vince McMahon, stand back, Dance Break.
Yep.
It was awesome. And then we haven't even touched on the real standout of the year for the women's evolution. The man. Yeah.
The Becky Lynch. And this is the thing, is I've been a fan of Becky Lynch for as long as I can remember. Even before she came to the WWE, because I had seen some of her, because I have friends that are over in England, because I studied abroad in England while I was going to college, so I have friends over there and met wrestling fans. So like they would send me videotape. So I have videotapes of like of friends that I have over there that they would send me this stuff that like from Finn Balor, from Becky Lynch, from Pete Dunne, from Tyler Bate, like from that UK independent scene. And like I saw some of her early stuff, and I'm like, yo, this chick's got something. And then when she finally showed up in WWE on NXT, I was like, yo, that's Rebecca Quinn. I was like, I got so excited.
When I saw that they made the announcement that they signed her, mind you, this is the fledgling, the bubblings of NXT. Like,
yeah,
there was before NXT became. It was going to be the bubblings of the women's evolution. It started in NXT.
Oh, absolutely.
You can thank Natalia. The Four Horsewomen, the real Four Horsewomen.
Yes,
yes. And you can thank Carmella. You can thank Naomi down there. You can. Sarah Amato deserves all the credit in the world for helping to bring those women.
Her and Fit Finlay have been two of the most prominent like driving forces for women's wrestling.
Absolutely. And to me, I look at it like the women's evolution started in NXT.
Oh, absolutely.
It came to WWE, and I think the reason it came to WWE was, and this is just my opinion as a wrestling fan, it reminds me of ECW in 1995 and 1996. If you don't think Vince McMahon didn't at least know about Paul Heyman and what Paul was doing in Philly with the extreme style, but not just the extreme style, the smaller guys who were going out there like your Benoits and your Eddies and your Malenkos putting on wrestling matches, you're insane. And then eventually that ECW Extreme became WWF Attitude.
Yep.
I think the women's revolution in NXT that Triple H, thank him too,
oh, absolutely,
Triple H was setting up. Once it came to the main roster, there was no denying it. Like, I'm sorry, but the build up in 2016, 2017 led to what was going to be a banner year, which gave us the man.
Yes.
Gave us Becky Lynch, and then
gave us the Queen Charlotte,
and gave us the Empress Asuka.
Yep.
Three of the best talented singles competitors that we have in women's wrestling today.
And also on top of that, you saw the rise of the goddess Alexa Bliss.
Alexa has held down that setup perfectly. If you would have told me that she was going to be what she became, insane. And then all of this building up to Women's Evolution, the first WWE Women's Pay-Per-View. Yep. Now, yes, there have been IPPVs before for other independent wrestling companies that have done women's wrestling. There are women's wrestling organizations.
Yeah, and I've even mentioned this. A lot of people were getting on the WWE for calling it the first ever women's pay-per-view when you've had events from TNA and Shimmer and this. Yeah, but this is the thing: is in the wrestling world, the WWE is the mecca. Like this is where you want to be.
Well, okay, there is perception is reality.
Yeah. And no, I'm going to say, like, we're going to get into that.
Reality is reality. To your average fan.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about us. Okay, we're not average.
No, not at all. We're in the wrestling business, so we're not average.
But to your average person who's passing by a magazine stand or scrolling down or watching something on Netflix or YouTube where there's a commercial, if you see WWE is announcing the first ever all-women's pay-per-view, WWE is the name that you see. It's a perception. Yes, it is not the first women's pay-per-view for wrestling, but it is the first WWE women's pay-per-view.
And the name is everything.
And they pulled out all the stops. I mean, you had Trish and Lita opening up the goddamn show.
Yep.
Against Alexa Bliss's team of Alicia Fox
and Mickie James.
My God, Mickie James, and a renaissance that she's had, both her and her husband. We'll talk about him later on, obviously.
Of course.
And then, of course, you have Ronda versus, Nikki. And I hate to say this, we really that was the main event because everyone wanted to see Nikki just get the shit knocked out of her. It was nothing more than them servicing the fans like, hey, we're going to give Nikki one more go, but really, you all want to see her get her ass kicked. Here's Ronda killing Nikki.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was.
A lot of people, and the thing is I was defending, I know a lot of people weren't happy that Ronda and Nikki were the main event, but the thing is Ronda and Nikki were the two most recognized names outside of the wrestling industry. So, like you said, that the casual fan is, okay, what you're doing is you're going, hey, our main event is Ronda Rousey versus Nikki Bella. So you're trying to draw in the people that are on the fringe of, hey, I'm an MMA fan, I'm not a wrestling fan, but oh shit, Ronda's in the main event for the Raw Women's Championship against Nikki Bella, who Nikki Bella hasn't wrestled in X amount of years, but she's built up this empire outside of wrestling in reality TV and fashion and all this other. So you're like, you see that, you're going, oh wow, okay, let me tune into this.
And, we all know the real main event of that show.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, there's not going to be a person on planet Earth that won't tell me that Charlotte and
Becky.
the man, Becky. I love calling her the man. The man. You had the Queen and the man were the main event. Okay, let's not be brass tacks. But really, in reality, your casual fan kind of wanted to see John Cena's ex-girlfriend get beat up.
Yep.
It sounds fucked up, but in the world of how people think these days and how they don't like celebrities, it was kind of a celebrity getting her ass kicked.
Oh, absolutely.
Fun.
And that's what it was.
And then to add towards the end of the year, for the women's evolution, we had the incident with the man getting her face broke.
Yep.
Which caused us to lose the Survivor Series match between Ronda and
Becky Lynch.
We ended up getting Charlotte versus Ronda early.
Yeah.
Which, if you would have told me prior to that Monday Night Raw where Becky Lynch got her nose broken, I would have told you the main event of WrestleMania this upcoming year was going to be Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair.
Oh, absolutely.
After she stood there like Stone Cold Steve Austin against Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13.
With the blood.
And her face is just bloody.
The image of her in the crowd, the blood just all over her face, and her arms just out going like this, like, what do you want? What do you want?
Yeah, this is my show. Blood is everywhere. She's smiling, and the fans around her are going ape shit.
She's like, this is my division.
It's like she's an Irish war goddess, and we just gave you the climax of a lifetime with her standing here. It's like the fans collectively orgasmed with joy watching the girl that earlier in the summer they wanted to win Money in the Bank.
Yep.
When she didn't win Money in the Bank, they wanted her to win at SummerSlam. When she didn't win at SummerSlam, there was the fucking climax was, now she's been taken away from us.
Yep.
We want her back. She's on social media. There's no one who can touch her, with the exception of Chris Jericho, who we'll talk about later.
Of course.
Road Warrior Animal recently did an interview, and I think the Wrestling Observer had a headline for it. Road Warrior Animal thinks Becky Lynch needs to drop the man, quote, end quote. And Becky Lynch's rebuttal was she retweeted it and said, the first 4 words of this sentence make no sense. Road Warrior Animal thinks. And I'm just like, oh, she's not afraid to take on anyone.
She's not. And the thing is if you watch the most recent WWE Chronicle on the WWE Network featuring Becky Lynch, it covers the time from Survivor Series up until TLC. And there's a spot on there they go ask her, they're like, why are you calling yourself the man? Whatever. She's like, it's not, I'm calling myself the man because I'm the champion. I'm the top of the mountain. I'm the person. Like, you look at all the people in the past, you look at, she's like, I think she said something along the lines of Charlotte's dad. She talked about Ric Flair saying, to be the man, you got to beat the man. She's like, it's not, I'm calling myself a man. She's like, it's a perception. I'm the champion. I'm the man of because of this. Like, you want to be the champion, you got to beat me.
And she can't call herself the champ because the champ is John Cena.
Of course.
It's so calling herself the man, it's not only kind of a middle finger to Charlotte. But it's also letting Ronda know, you're not better than me. And, okay, I'm going to say this right now. Eric Bischoff said that there was a point in his career where he could go out in a WCW Nitro ring, Ric Flair could.
Yep.
And Ric Flair could literally light puppies on fire and stomp them out on his way to the ring, and fans would cheer wildly for him.
Yep.
Becky Lynch is at a point in her career where if Ric Flair was out there doing an interview for his daughter and Becky Lynch came down and beat the shit out of Ric Flair, that crowd would not boo her. They would cheer her even worse. And when Charlotte did the run-in save, they would boo Charlotte for saving Ric Flair.
Yep, absolutely.
That is the level of awesomeness that she has ended up leading into TLC. Now that she does not have the title, thank God Asuka finally got the fucking title.
Yep.
I'm so happy for that. We can now have Becky Lynch enter the Royal Rumble at number 1 and win the Royal Rumble and face Ronda Rousey in the main event of WrestleMania.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be awesome.
I honestly, that's one of my predictions for 2019.
Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch. If they make it a triple threat match, I'm still okay with that. But the lasting image of WrestleMania next year is, in my opinion, should be Ronda versus Becky, and Becky beats Ronda. Because Ronda's undefeated.
Yep.
Becky and her already have history, and that would put Becky Lynch on a level unbelievably high. And Conor McGregor has already said, the Notorious One, that he would fly to New York City because he's famous for just flying into New York City and helping out a friend.
Yeah.
Imagine Conor McGregor, champ, in her fucking corner, walking down that aisle in New York City to WrestleMania.
Oh, God, man. People...
Take my money.
Well, it's... The plan is I'm trying to be at that Mania to begin with, so... But... Yeah, that would... Oh, my God. The crowd would lose their absolute shit on that one.
And, it's funny. You're trying to get to Mania, and I actually have a ticket for the event the night prior to WrestleMania in Madison Square Garden. I don't know. I hate to divert from...
No. I was about to go there. But
there may, in fact, be... Sergeant Fury has already got a ticket to the most fucking likely moment in wrestling history where another company is running the Garden.
Yeah, like, and this is the thing is, in 2018 we saw the rise of New Japan Pro Wrestling and Ring of Honor, and part of the rise of this was by the group known as the Bullet Club / the Elite. Now they are known as just the Elite.
The Elite. The Elite.
And that's...
I'm done.
And that's the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes.
Don't call him Rhodes.
Excuse me. Cody. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, the villain, and that. And these men have had a phenomenal, ridiculous 2018. Not to mention the rise in the two separate companies... But these men put on their own wrestling event in 2018 in a sellout.
In 29 minutes and 30 seconds, Dave Meltzer. Absolutely. So you have to go back to last October in order to tell this story properly.
Oh, of course.
Because you and I... not together, but you and I woke up separately in other ends of New York.
Yes.
And I'm sure you did the same thing that I do every time I wake up in the morning. I wake up, I turn my alarm off, I check Facebook.
Yep.
I hate to say it, we're kind of now trained as a generation to do that.
Yeah.
I click my Facebook thing, and what's the first thing I fucking see is Chris goddamn fucking Jericho challenging the cleaner, Kenny Omega, to a match at fucking Wrestle Kingdom 12.
Yep.
In the unlikely things that I believe could ever happen, Chris Jericho working for another company other than WWE would have been right on the top of that list.
Yeah.
So
when I woke up, and what was funny is I was at work that night. I was at work.
Yep.
And because at the time I was working at Target, so I was working like the early morning shift. So I was going to work at like 3 a.m. And I wake up at 2 or whatever, go to work, and at 5 a.m. on my first break, I pull up my phone and I see Facebook, and all of a sudden I see people sharing the video, and I'm like, where, Jericho, New Japan. I was like, what? It was one of them things of like, you had a moment in time where your brain just stopped working because you never envisioned that ever happening.
And it took New Japan instantly to a new level. Like, you and I are old enough to remember when Hulk Hogan,
yes,
when it was announced on WCW Saturday night that Hulk Hogan had signed with WCW. It, to me, and I know that there's going to be 1 or 2 people that will be like, Dan's riding Jericho's dick again. It's like, fuck you, he's the GOAT. Okay, in my opinion, he's number 1. He took New Japan and New Japan Pro Wrestling World, their live streaming service that they had launched.
Yep.
And it took it from down at a good level to the fucking stratosphere in the matter of one day. I mean, they even announced it during their match at Wrestle Kingdom, and I was on my elliptical earlier watching that fucking match. I'm not lying here. I watch that match all the time when I'm at the gym and I need to get that fucking wrestler pump.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to go for the full 48 minutes that video is on, like, mountain range and shit because I'm stupid. And I'm fucking watching that match. And they even said it. The first day that match was announced, 10,000 people subscribed within, like, 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember that. It was like, and by the time, they said by the time Wrestle Kingdom was going to be, like, live and everything, they said their, like, viewership and subscription rate for New Japan World was, like, over 500,000.
And what's even better is that was the largest attendance for Wrestle Kingdom in person in, like, I think they said 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Which to me proves your average fan in Japan wanted to see Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega. And then from there, and enough about Chris Jericho because we could talk about him in a little bit. From there, Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes and The Elite continued to perform. They had an amazing match at the G1 show.
Yep.
In Long Beach. They had a phenomenal match WrestleMania weekend between just Cody and Kenny.
Yep.
For control of the Bullet Club. You had fucking Kenny Omega wins the IWGP
Heavyweight Championship from Okada.
Cody from Okada, and I was at sorry, give me 1 second. At Dominion, where Chris Jericho wins the title from Naito, and it's the same night that the Young Bucks win the New Japan Tag Titles. It's like you have this weird swirling, and then what happens like 2 months later? Nick Aldis, the Natural, versus the American Nightmare Cody. I'm getting goosebumps talking about this legitimately. At All in Chicago
for the NWA Heavyweight Championship.
Fucking end of the title that the American Dream Dusty Rhodes helped put on the map, that Harley Race put on the map, that fucking the Nature Boy Ric Flair put on the map. Like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about this because the introductions for that match, where you have Camp Nightmare with Tommy Dreamer and DDP and Glacier and Cody's father-in-law and the Siberian Nightmare Pharaoh. Any man who has a dog knows how important that dog is to Cody. It's like, and Brandy looking stunning going out there with him. And then you have Nick Aldis, who, for the 70th anniversary of the NWA this year, is the flagship with Jeff Jarrett and Daivari. And he's walking out there leading the charge for the NWA, for Billy Corgan, for the 10 Pounds of Gold YouTube show.
Yep.
You have all of this. And All In sells out without a fucking match announced, for God's sakes. You had stars. You didn't even have a match. And I mean...
Yeah, all you knew for All In was going to be, you were going to have Cody, you were going to have the Young Bucks, and a few other people. Like, no match was announced, and this show sold out in under 30 minutes.
And you had Okada, the Rainmaker. You had Kenny Omega. You had... give me 2 seconds to think. You had Flip Gordon. You had the Bucks. You had Rey Mysterio. You had Penta. You had Jericho showing up. Fucking Chris Jericho literally flies in, attacks, flies out in the fucking outfit, in makeup, shows up at a fucking concert an hour later on a private jet, just like, I'm Chris Jericho, fuck you. And then from there, from the success of All In, had you told me that another company, let alone two companies, would book Madison Square Garden the Saturday night before WrestleMania in New York City / New Jersey, I would have told you were smoking crack.
Speaking, side note, because of that show, I'm going to say this, and you know what? If people want to agree with me, that's can. But you know what? I'm going to say something. WWE changed their events around because of that show.
Fucking lootly. If I am Triple H, and I know that the night before WrestleMania, because it usually, thanks to NXT, Hall of Fame Friday, Saturday NXT TakeOver,
Sunday is Mania.
Sunday's Mania. If I were Triple H, I would sit back and say, well,
we're running NXT Friday.
And I'm not, and a lot of this has to do with WWE's marketing. WWE's relationship with Barclay. I've been to Barclays. I've been to Madison Square Garden. Yes, Barclay is sexy. Okay, Barclay has got, it's new, it's pretty. They've got a great relationship. They've obviously done a stream of SummerSlams. I was there earlier this year at Raw 25. I was there in attendance at that fucking show at the Barclays Center. Unbelievable pops all night long, nostalgia. It's a beautiful building, hotels and restaurants right nearby. It's got a cool vibe.
But at the end of the day, it's not MSG.
Not the Garden, okay? If you would have told me NXT TakeOver in Madison Square Garden, I would have said, take my money. Here you go. If you would have said the Hall of Fame is in Madison Square Garden, take my money. But they ignored her. And that might be due to unions. That might be due to it being an old building. But the Garden is the Garden.
Oh, yeah. And this is the thing, is as much as epic as NXT shows are, like, just imagine, like, a 5, maybe 6 card match of NXT TakeOver WrestleMania weekend in MSG.
We won't see it. Do you know why? Because instead, Sinclair Entertainment and, Mark Cuban and whoever else decided...
And various other people.
And various other people decided to pool their money together, and legal teams were called.
Yes.
Because legal... let's face facts. The old man was not going to let that happen, and I don't know what legal strings were pulled.
The old man tried to not make that happen.
And instead, now you have New Japan, Ring of Honor, Supercard, G1, fucking... I'm getting goosebumps again, because if you can tell, I'm passionate about pro wrestling. That's why I got into pro wrestling. But the thing that makes me love this the most is I'm going to have a ticket to go see something that I never thought I would see. And I don't know who's going to be on this card. I don't know if All Elite Wrestling is going to have contracts with certain guys that can't be there. Is Kenny Omega going to be there? I don't know. Cody? I don't know. Chris Jericho? I don't know. Okada? I don't know. Dalton Castle? Jay Lethal? The Briscoes? fucking Naito, Evil, Suzuki.
Well,
the list goes on and on.
Well, the only people that I know are confirmed as far as New Japan are Okada, Tanahashi, and Naito.
Okay, and those are their big three, obviously.
Yep.
It's like
among all the stars from ROH.
And that's what I was going to get into is earlier this year I had the distinct honor of sharing the ring. May not have been a match, but sharing the ring against former Ring of Honor heavyweight champion Dalton Castle. One of the highlights of my wrestling career, and it was just verbal sparring on a microphone.
Yep.
I would love to see Dalton Castle's entrance at Ring of Honor in the Garden. And to think this WCW never got in the Garden.
No, they did not. They got the closest. I think the closest they got was Nassau Coliseum.
That's the closest, and even then, Vince was not happy that they were running the Nassau Coliseum.
No,
but to me, I look at it and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ! This is going to be historic, and it goes to what you were saying earlier. There's this renegade feel to pro wrestling again.
Yes, there is.
For the first time since the end of the Monday Night War in 2001, wrestling fans and wrestlers have options. And who would have known that it would have taken almost 18 years to get a wrestling war? And granted, it's not being fought on
TV.
Network, on TV. Like next Friday, I don't know when this is going to air, next Friday is Wrestle Kingdom 13.
Yes.
I know what the fuck I'm not doing that Friday morning. I'm not going to fucking work. Do you know why? Because I am going to be up at 3 a.m. and I am going to be watching fucking Wrestle Kingdom 13 when I see Chris Jericho versus fucking Naito.
Yep.
That's the match I'm paying to see. I'm going to see fucking Juice Robinson try and get the United States Championship away from the American Nightmare after he lost it in a fucking phenomenal match, in my opinion. I'm going to see fucking Kenny Omega perhaps headlining his last Wrestle Kingdom. Who knows what else we're going to see, at this fucking show. I mean, obviously matches are announced already, but this is going to be big. And for the first time since I was a teenager, I have the option of any company thanks to apps like the Fight TV app.
Yep.
You have wrestling cruises, for fuck's sake, that you can go on. I have the New Japan World app, the WWE app. If I don't want to watch Monday Night Raw or SmackDown on Tuesday, I can watch NXT on Wednesday if I want to watch a wrestler that I give a shit about. I mean, because Tommaso Ciampa, the fucking unbelievable year and a half that he had.
Absolutely.
So you can't take anything away from the NXT guys. But really, there are so many options, and that's not all. I mean, you have Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. For fuck's sake, David Arquette is a name in wrestling. Again,
This is true. David Arquette is a name in wrestling again.
18 years ago, had you told me that David Arquette in 2018 was going to be relevant, I would have told you to kiss my ass. And instead, I'm telling you, holy fuck, I know guys who have been in the same building as him, in the same locker room, and hung out with David Arquette after having a phenomenal match.
Absolutely.
What the fuck?
And on top of this, and this is something that I'm going to get into with other guest host for this massive end of the year episode, is the independent scene of pro wrestling has grown exponentially over the last year. Because now you're seeing a lot of, you're quote unquote seeing some of the smaller companies that may not have been as good as other companies. They're starting to finally die out a little. And the good solid companies in whatever area you may live, whether it's New York, Ohio, PA, out west, down south, whatever, they're starting to grow and expand even more. Because wrestling is, once again, not taboo. Like, wrestling is becoming a known factor again, and it's because of all these other companies outside of WWE.
It was announced earlier this year in the fall that Fox,
Yep.
regular Fox, had a $2 billion deal with Vince McMahon to bring SmackDown Live next October to their regular primetime regular Fox, not Fox Sports.
Nope, the regular Fox network on Friday nights.
Exactly. And it's going to be its own thing, and there's not going to be this cross-pollination. They want their own product. Vince McMahon now has a shit ton of money that he can just dispense. He's not the only billionaire, though. You got Mark Cuban, who is dispensing money. I mentioned Sinclair Entertainment, who have the rights to Ring of Honor television. You have names in the game, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a billionaire's game. Anyone would look at what Billy Corgan has done with the NWA Championship on YouTube. I highly stress, if you're listening to this and you haven't checked out the 10 Pounds of Gold series on YouTube, give it a watch, because they have shown what a YouTube show can do. In fact, I will take it one step further. Being the Elite booked the fucking Sears Center in Chicago.
Yep.
If you think about it, storylines that happened on Being the Elite directly affected that. And also, storylines that happened on Being the Elite led to matches on the Jericho Cruise. And we're leaving out Impact Wrestling. Impact, although it might not be the scale it was, maybe 8 years ago when they had Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, they're building steam again. It's slow process. Don Callis is really doing some great stuff with Impact.
Callis and D'Amore have done phenomenal jobs with Impact Wrestling, moving it from Florida up into Canada. Me and Cyclone talked about it last episode about them being on the new network Pursuit in January, which still hasn't totally been announced. There's a lot of red and black tape to go through with that. But this is the thing: is Impact Wrestling has grown exponentially over the last year. They've erased a lot of the drama and bad publicity that they had in 2016 and 2017.
I mean, there was the unfortunate accident that happened with Sami Callihan.
Yes.
Okay? Accidents happen in the ring. That little GIF was played over and over and over on Facebook and social media. And, shit happens. Was it a bad move? It was an accident.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I can't say much. I walk around with a fucking barbed wire baseball bat. If someone ever got hit with that in the fucking face, accidentally, I'd feel bad. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's wrestling. But you can take that negative and spin it into a positive, because Sami Callihan's notoriety from that went to Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground on El Rey Network.
Yes.
We on the anniversary of Eddie Guerrero's passing had Shaw Guerrero show up on Lucha Underground, and her and Chavo went out there and fucking
yes,
the
they
house.
did.
Like, you had Johnny Mundo, Johnny
Impact,
Johnny whatever, fucking beautiful goddamn brown locks that he has, was ruling the shit over there. And it's like, you have Vampiro, who is commentating / becoming a great character again on that.
Yep.
For those who remember his WCW run, it's even cooler to see him.
You have Pentagon, who had a hell of a championship run.
Exactly. And I mean, we have only scratched the surface of that, and who knows where those guys are going to end up in 2019. It's something to be said when the guy who runs NXT takes a picture of a fan with a fan at a birthday party, and it's a Lucha Underground cake, and he's telling them, "Oh, don't worry, we've already been scouting there. We've got some guys that we'd like to bring into NXT." Bam!
Yep.
You have Triple H saying, "Oh, I'm watching them," because Triple H is smart in that Triple H remembers what it was like on the Independents, and he knows good talent, and he's willing to work with it. I mean, for anyone who listens to this podcast that does not believe that they're watching, Donovan Dijak, who I have seen over the years at World of Hurt wrestling shows, is on NXT.
He is.
There are tons. I can't Carissa, the Native American warrior that I've ran into her at shows. There are tons of people. I'm trying to remember them all, but that's how many there are.
This is
made appearances.
This is the thing. If you, and as we're wrapping up here, if you go back to even old WWE videotape and documentaries and like so much on stuff, even on I watched it a couple of weeks ago on the WWE Network about the Click. Like Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, even Shawn Michaels, even Sean Waltman has said Triple H was the guy who wanted to learn all the time. He was constantly watching everything. I don't think he's ever lost that. He watches everything to learn and see what's going on.
I would, and I've said this to friends in the business, I'd give my left testicle. Let's just say, I would give my left testicle to be a fly on the wall in some of the van trips that the Click took, where they talked about wrestling, because they were notorious for constantly talking about the business. And the reason why is, with Triple H's training from Killer Kowalski, his polishing from Terry Taylor, and then those long rides with the Click, they had to have talked about shit like, hey, yo, imagine if they had a performance center that was better than the power plant that WCW has in Atlanta.
Oh, yep.
What would it look like?
Yep.
And then Triple H is logging all this shit in his brain like, if I ever had the money to open a wrestling school, this is what I would want to be.
Not to mention, if you look at it, when going back to the end of the Monday Night Wars, when you had all those guys from WCW come over, the Arn Andersons, the Dean Malenkos, Chris Benoit's, and all that, like, those are the guys that are like, hey, the power plant is a good, solid place to start.
Yes.
Like, he had that information.
And the funny part is if you want an example of someone who studied at the power plant and became a Hall of Famer, Diamond Dallas Page would notoriously spend time at the power plant. Big Show would spend time there. Triple H would be there when he had his off days and he happened to be in Atlanta for television tapings. You're absolutely right. And to me, the Performance Center obviously is the next evolutionary step in what it is. You know, to me, you're taking the best performers in the world and you're putting them in one spot. And, you know, this is why being on the independents, I cannot remember who said this quote, so I'm just going to paraphrase it. And if someone says, hey, it was this guy, you fucking mutilated it, well, suck my dick. Go out there in the ring every single night and act like someone is watching, because believe it or not, they are. They can be whoever, but someone is always watching. And if you go out and you half-ass it because there's only 12 people in the crowd, they're going to see it. And once again, the quote, they. It's like, guys get signed because of little 8-second videos. Well, what was the video that went viral earlier this year that the big dude launched the guy out of the ring and he's from Western New York?
Oh, Ace Romero and Anthony Gaines.
That video got played over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
And if you don't think that is inevitably going to be seen on NXT or Ring of Honor or New Japan, you're absolutely insane.
The pounce heard around the world, Ace Romero versus none of the kind Anthony Gaines, former guest from here on TTRP, but from Empire State Wrestling.
Exactly. And it's like, you had that moment happen, and that went viral. It's like, things go viral that you might not think is going to get you traction, and then next thing you know, you're at the Performance Center, or you're backstage at Monday Night Raw, or you are an extra on TV, and it's like you're having a dark match. It's Colin Delaney from Rochester, reemerged on WWE television, knowing that he's been on the independent scene over the last several years.
Yep.
You know, it's insane to think that homegrown wrestling is where it's at, which is why I tell people, work on your promos. I said this on the last time I was on this show. Work on your promos even when no one is there to watch it. Always have promo ideas. Always be developing your character. Always be trying to get new shit, because you never know when you're going to get an opportunity to have fun. And that's what this is all about.
Oh, absolutely.
Pro wrestling is fun. For the last hour, you and I have been yucking it up, just talking about the phenomenal year that 2018 was. Was this the best year there could be in pro wrestling? Fuck no. I honestly think 2019 can be a better year for everyone.
Oh, absolutely. I completely... If everybody builds on what 2018 was, I believe 2019 in professional wrestling, pro and independent scene alike, can be better than it was in 2018.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And, that's why, I'm upping my game next year. I'll leave it at that. But it's like, step out of your comfort zone. Be willing to travel. And more importantly than that, look at what's going on with the product now. Because in 1994, had you told people that there would be a Monday Night War that everyone would be fighting to get into with three giant companies, WWF, WCW, and ECW, I'm sure there would have been people being like, I don't think it's going to happen.
True.
And it did.
True.
In 2017, had you told people that Ring of Honor, who people knew about, New Japan Pro Wrestling, WWE, would have streaming services in 2018 and would be fighting for your dollars, and the fucking Young Bucks and Cody would have booked a building and done this giant super show, people would have said, I don't think it's going to happen. Well, guess what? It fucking did.
Well,
it absolutely did.
Hell, even added to the point, in 2016, even 2017, you're going, you know what? ROH, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and WWE is going to have a ridiculous conglomerate of wrestling on WrestleMania weekend, 3 days in a row, fighting for your money. I'd go, no, I don't see it.
Yeah, no, I don't. What venue are they going to book WrestleMania weekend that Ring of Honor is going to do? Are they going to do the Hammerstein Ballroom? Nope, the Garden. Bitch, please, fuck, it happened.
Yep.
The general range of emotions that we're going through as fans, and that's the best part. You know who really wins at this? Not only is it guys who are trying to come up in the system, and guys who are trying to get bookings, and guys who are literally guys and girls. Let me rephrase that.
Yes. Guys
and girls who are literally scratching and clawing and fighting in order to get a chance to be seen. But the fans are finally being given a fucking option again.
Yes, they are.
To quote Chris Jericho, who had a phenomenal 2018, drink it in, man. It's a fucking gift.
Yes, it is. It is a gift. But on that note, we're going to end this edition of the TTRP. I'd like to thank Sergeant Fury for joining us as the special guest host. Any final words as you close out 2018?
Oh, my God, yes. I have some words. A lot of them, but I'm going to keep them short and sweet in case anyone makes me eat them. 2018 was a really fun year for me. Like I said, faced the likes of the Aldens and Dalton Castle in World of Hurt, had some phenomenal success in the Dynasty, and 2019, you have so many companies in New York that Sergeant Fury wants to go to, but you know what? It's time to expand outward. It's time to have some fun. If I can travel 8 hours to go run a Spartan and be in tights in the middle of the winter doing it, then, it's time for Fury to expand and have some fun, and you never know where you're going to see him. At Immortal Championship Wrestling, New York Championship Wrestling just opened up in Central New York. It'd be nice to go back out to Buffalo. Connecticut kind of needs to feel the Fury. So does Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So we're going to have some fun this year, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned.
Well, on that note, for Sergeant Fury, I'm Pat G. This has been the TTRP. No Cyclone today, guys, because I don't do that. We'll catch you later on the flip side in 2019 when Cyclone's back.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.